Welcome to the Wise Women Podcast and our debut season, Wisdom's Discovery, Finding Your Center at the Edge. Because some moments in life call us to our edge and then beckon us to expand beyond it. In this season, we dive into the shared experiences of 20 remarkable women. And through honest conversation, we explore together the moments that shape us, stretch us, undo us, and ultimately return us to ourselves. I'm Katherine Jelinek, and this is the Wise Women Podcast. Hello, everyone. I'm with Amanda Barkey, certified EOS implementer and serial entrepreneur. Welcome, Amanda.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes. I'm really excited about this conversation, and I know that I'm going to personally get a lot out of it. So let's get right into it. Where does your story begin?
Well, I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning. My grandparents were all political refugees. My parents are immigrants. I did not come from an entrepreneurial family. I was born and raised in Canada. I'm a first generation born Canadian. I married my husband in Canada. We moved down to the States in 2008 and we started our first business. And so we literally moved down to the States with everything packed in the back of our Honda Civic. We had a 6-month-old baby.
Wow.
That song started from the bottom. Now we're here. That's about us. So we've slept on floors. We've been on food stamps. You know, our kids have slept in our closets. And so we built everything on our own backs. And we both come from, very humble beginnings. And so that's where it all started. And I had 4 kids in 5 years during the startup phase of our business. That's a lot. Yeah. I'm married to the visionariest of all visionaries. I swear he came out of the womb with a business plan.
Huh.
He's a very much like build the parachute on the way down kind of guy. And so that's fun. That makes it for a really fun and adventurous, exciting life. But yeah, so we had 4 kids in 5 years and we were just grinding and hustling and building our businesses. And then when our youngest was 4, we adopted our oldest. So I adopted an older child, my son. He's 18 now. We adopted him when he was 11. And so we have 5 kids in a 7-year age span. And so I have 5 kids, 3 businesses, a nonprofit. I live in Southern California and Hawaii. So I bounce back and forth. And so I live a very full life and I'm in my 40s. And so over the last 20 years, I've learned a lot. And I think that's like, though I think all that to say, it's just really important to know where I come from, where this all started and the journey, that I've taken to get me to where I'm at today.
Wow. And one question that popped to mind is, where is your family originally from? Like what country were they coming from?
Great question. So it was originally USSR. Now it's Ukraine.
Wow.
So from South Russia, from Ukraine, that's where they originally they're all from like Scandinavia. That's going back to like the 1600s. But when they left and they escaped religious persecution, then my great grandmothers and all of their children, they left USSR when Stalin was in reign, and then immigrated as political refugees, first to South America. So my parents were born in Paraguay, and then their families immigrated to Canada. So yeah, it was a big trek.
So at this point, you've got some serious adventuresome genes and resilience.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, noted. Yeah.
That's in my DNA. Absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay. So then now fast forward back to you, and you're a mother of 5 beautiful kids and have a very full life.
Yeah.
So where does this lead us next?
Yeah. So I was living in Southern California and, living the entrepreneurial life with my husband and our 5 kids. And I was a stay-at-home homeschool mom, cloth diapering, making the sourdough, that whole thing. And so living that life, this was sort of pre-COVID. And
you did it before it was popular then.
Yeah. Trendsetter.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So when my kids were sort of like early elementary school age, that's the phase of life I was in. And so that was in my like early to mid 30s. Okay. And then my kids all became elementary school aged. And then we decided homeschooling time was done and they all went to public school. And so there was, this inflection point where I've always co-owned these businesses with my husband, but never really had like an official role in the businesses. My kids were all in school full time. And it was sort of like, well, what's next for me? And so entering this new era. And so it kind of also coincided with like the end of my 30s and that sort of midlife. I don't like calling it a midlife crisis. It was
Right.
sort of
There's
like,
so much more.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But it was definitely this midlife point in time where, I was entering a new era. And I decided that I wanted to be the best version of myself, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And that doesn't happen overnight. And so I just started putting things into place and practices and habits to sort of create this life that I always dreamed of and be this best version of myself. And so that started right before COVID, and here we are today. And I'm 42, and I'm living my dream life, right? Like I told you before we started recording that I am delusionally optimistic, and I think that's the cheat code in life. I've really discovered that. Like I think that you can be completely unreasonable about how good your life is going to be and create that mindset for yourself and really like visualize what that's going to be, who you are going to be, what that version of yourself looks like, and speak it into existence. And yeah, speak like everything that you want wants you more. And I think that's what I did. And here I am today.
Love that phrase. I love that phrase. Okay. Track me through some of the small changes
Sure.
because 2019, pre-COVID, just barely, to now, like, how did you step into that on every level in your life when you
Yeah.
said spiritually, emotionally, physically? Like, where did that begin and how did the transformation start to take
Yeah.
place?
Well, so I started really taking stock in my life, in every area of my life, right? So I broke it down mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, and started rating those areas 1 to 10, with 10 being best, like really being real with myself, getting really real, open, honest, vulnerable with myself, and thinking about what does a 10 look like, right? And so, for instance, like physically, I had never stepped foot in a gym. Okay. So I'm not a sports girly. I'm not very competitive. If we played Monopoly together, you would probably hate it because I just relational harmony is like top for me. And so
Yeah.
I just want us to all leave as friends. And so I'm kind of like, I'm not fun to play a board game with or be on a sports team with because I'm just not really competitive. Me versus me, on the other hand, I'm very competitive.
Mm,
And so I
mm.
didn't discover that until I was on this journey, sort of like, really peeling back the layers and discovering these things about myself when I was like on this journey to be the best version of myself. So my kids are all school age and I thought, okay, well, I've never stepped foot in a gym, so let's get a gym membership. And so get a gym membership. And sometimes honestly, like I'd drop them off at school and I'd go sit in the gym parking lot and I'd never go in. I would just sit in my car. I'd sit in the gym parking lot. And then I started going in and I would get on the treadmill or the elliptical for 10 minutes, right? Just move my body. And so little by little, I just started stacking the habits and making it like a new normal. One day I looked over and I saw this woman standing at the trainer podium and she was about my age and she looked exactly how I wanted to look, like physically.
Mm.
And so I went up to her and I'm like, I want you to make me look like you. And she goes, well, you're not going to do that on the elliptical or the treadmill. Like you're literally running your butt off. And so you need to start lifting. And so I hired her as my trainer. And then I started lifting weights and really fell in love with lifting. And now that's just a part of my normal life. I lift 3 or 4 times a week. And so,
Wow.
I think like doing things like that, like, so on the flip side, like for the spiritual side, like I've always been a very spiritual person. I grew up
Mm.
in the church. And so like, I think like there's something to like creating, well, I don't think I know that consistency is key. And so creating those consistent micro habits, those things that really help you to get what you want in any area of life. And for me, like in my spiritual life, like figuring out what works for me and learning how to habit stack or like make those habits easy and attractive. Like, so I created this chair area in my room. I call it my marination station.
Oh, I
And
love that. Might take it.
yeah, absolutely. Everyone needs a marination station.
Hmm.
So I have, my special chair and my light and my my salt lamp and my, my candle and my books and my journal and my Bible and all of the things that I need to help me to stay on track with being spiritually healthy. And so I think like really first taking stock in where I was at on in all of those like areas of life. There's a really great tool called the Wheel of Life.
Hmm.
And so I use that tool quite often. And I encourage women that I work with to use that tool to really take stock in where they're at. And then, creating those changes, like really deciding like, who do I want to be? What do I want from my life? And then taking those small steps. Like you don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step, right? But taking those small steps and then creating habits and then habit stacking. So it's really just building on those good habits and then staying consistent. So that's what
Well,
we're.
and I'm so sorry to
Yeah, go
jump
ahead.
in, but with your marination station, I love that because that's an environmental adjustment to kind
Yeah.
of invite you into something,
Yes. Yep.
make it even easier to make it regular.
Yeah. And I've done that with so many things in my life, like even going to the gym, like putting out my gym clothes the night before, putting my shoes beside my bed, right? Like, and it's funny, I think back, like people are like, have you always been like this? Have you always been so driven? And I'm like, yeah, I think so, because I remember even as a little girl, like putting my outfit out the night before school, like draping it over my chair at my desk in my room. And so I think, those are practices that I've been putting in place in my life for a long, long time. But it really helps when you're trying to create those habits, really like making it easy and attractive and changing your environment to help you to do those things more easily. Super powerful.
And I can tell like you do have a very driven natural motor to you. And I'm guessing, but like I want to hear it from you too. So in the earlier years of your 30s and before even, more of that drive was being channeled into the creation of the family and the foundation there.
Yeah.
And then there was this moment of choosing
Yes.
to send more of that energy into yourself.
Yes.
Can you talk to me a little bit more about that moment and what actually perpetuated that choice or that realization that you wanted to make a different choice around the way that your energy and time was spent? I know the kids were, going off to school in person and there was more space, but also what else was going on for you?
Yeah, I think, it's just that natural like midlife time where you're like you have done all these things, you've accomplished, maybe you've created your family or you've, reached like these milestones in your career or whatever, and then like there's a shift. It's just a natural like biological shift that people have around that time in their life. And so for me, like it was that I think I finally had an opportunity, right? Like because when you have 4 kids in 5 years and then you adopt an older child and you're starting businesses and running a nonprofit and you're moving, we had lived in multiple states and all of that stuff like was just so all consuming. I didn't
Yes,
really even have time to like, brush my hair or finish
totally.
a cup of coffee before it got cold. But then
Yes.
things sort of like just naturally slowed down and life was still very full and busy, but maybe a little less so than I was used to and got accustomed to. And so then I was able to I had the opportunity to take stock, and not everybody takes that opportunity when it comes to them. But I really decided, I chose to take that time, take that opportunity. And I have a very supportive partner. My husband is really wonderful and encouraging. And so, yeah, I think it was just like this inflection point for me. And I just decided. And so I had to make a lot of hard decisions, a lot of stuff came with that. Right. And it was interesting. Like once you make a decision and you make a change in your life, things kind of snowball and then more decisions and more opportunities are presented to you. And so I started, becoming healthier physically, spiritually. That started, like, so the more that I was doing that, I started listening to more podcasts. Like, for instance, when I was on the treadmill, and then I'm listening to podcasts that are helping me to learn and grow. And so then I'm improving mentally. It all kind of like you start drinking more water because you're working out, you're getting dehydrated. And then you start, taking supplements with your water, putting stuff in your water. And so I think like things start to sort of snowball when you make one good choice or one decision. And so for me, that sort of like snowballed into some really pivotal, hard, courageous decisions that I had to make, that I was faced with. And I don't know if I wouldn't have made those first initial decisions to take those baby steps, right? I don't know if they would have presented themselves. And so a handful of years ago, I decided to quit drinking. I'm on a sober journey. And so there was, it's funny, like I've talked to a lot of alcoholics. I have a lot of friends and people who are on a similar journey and have been immensely supportive. But, everyone's story is different. Everyone's journey is different. And so most of them tell me like my rock bottom is like rock bottom light. It was like, it's not really like, it's kind of funny to share because I feel like, I don't know if people will kind of maybe scoff at it. But, I got to a point, so I was never really like a heavy drinker. I was always a social drinker. There's definitely a history in my family, a lineage of abuse of substances. And I was always really aware of that, but never really felt like that was my story or my problem. Mm-hmm. And then I found myself at a point when I was 39 where, just socially drinking and not really like paying attention to it. And for me, like I said, so I have that, that is an issue in my family. I've seen that, with extended family members be a problem in their lives. And so the writing's on the wall. And I got to a point in my life where I had a moment. It was actually Christmas. We were on Christmas break in Hawaii. My best friend in the entire world that I grew up with since we were small children, she was here visiting and she was here with her family. And we had like the most idyllic Christmas that you could ever think of, right? Like wrapping Christmas presents together on Christmas Eve and stuffing stockings. And we had this whole plan like for Christmas Day. And what I was most excited for was at the end of the day on Christmas Day, our families, we have big families. And so we were going to play minute to win it games. And so there are these games.
I love those.
Yeah, you're pulling like tissues out of a box as fast as you can and just silly, like picking up cotton balls with your, tongue or whatever. Like it's all these silly.
Yes, I've done this with a big family group. It's really a riot. Highly recommend it. Yes.
And so that was I was like, let's do this. And I was really excited. And we got all the supplies together and we were really pumped about this. And so Christmas morning happened. We opened gifts. We were drinking mimosas. We were having a great time. We went to the beach. We were drinking margaritas and having fun at the beach. We came back. We're making Christmas dinner and I'm drinking, a few glasses of wine. And then I passed out and I missed the minute to win it games. I missed the whole evening. I woke up in the middle of the night and everything was over. And for me, like that was devastating. That was a once in a lifetime opportunity with the people I love the most in the world that I was so looking forward to. And in that moment, I just decided like, I am never going to let alcohol make me miss something in my life ever again. And I thought really long and hard about it. And I was like, what percentage of the time do I want to wake up at 100%? Like what percentage of the time do I want to experience my life at 100%? It's 100%, right? 100% of the time. And so it's just a really clear like moment and a marker in time where I was sort of presented with this opportunity, faced with a decision. And I was like, I'm not taking this into my 40s with me. Like, this is where it ends. This doesn't serve me. And no judgment to anyone else, right? Like, everyone's on their own journey. But for me, I had already made so many changes in my life to be the best version of myself. And it just was very clear that this was something that if I didn't change, it would only get worse and it would help hold me back. And so I just decided, and it was the best decision or one of the best decisions I've ever made. So I decided actually, and so it's funny because as I'm speaking about it now, I'm realizing like all of those small decisions, those micro habits or those small habits that you make, that you habit stack on, that's what happened with my sober journey. So I just decided to do a dry January. I was like, let's just see how I feel. I'm going to do a dry January and just kind of like a reset, right? And so the first 3 weeks of January, I would have killed someone for a spicy margarita. Like I was,
Ha ha.
it was pretty miserable. The last week, didn't crave it anymore. I didn't want it, and I was sleeping better. My skin improved. I was doing better at the gym. I didn't tell people I was doing this, and my trainer was like, "You're lifting heavier and you're glowing. What's going on?" Right? People started noticing, and so it felt really good. And I was like, you know, February 1st rolled around, and I thought, I'm just going to do another month. Like, let's see
Mm,
if I can do another month and how that feels. And then I was like, well, I've been pregnant before, right? So I've gone 40 weeks.
yeah, right.
So could I go a year? I've never done a year. And so that's where the me versus me really kicked in. And yeah. And I kept going. And now I just actually celebrated 1,000 days. Alcohol
Wow.
free recently. And it's just wild, like how fast 1,000 days have gone by. And it's not hard anymore. It's a simple decision. And the pros way outweigh the cons, right? And so for me, it was this maybe that's, I mean, I think there's a lot of times that I've been sort of brought to the edge. And so I think that like for me, that was just part of my journey of becoming the best version of myself. And, I want to be at 100% of the time in every area of my life. And so if there are changes that I can make, I'm going to do them and I'm going to stick with them because, going back to the beginning of the story, right? Like, and where I came from, my ancestors crawled so I could run. And I'm not going to stop running, right? Like, and I'm going to do everything in my power to live fully and live the best version of life that I can, because it's all there for us. It's all there for you. Right. And so it's just making that decision and doing the things that you need to do and that what you need to do. Right. Like, and so it's, we are the ones that most oftentimes hold ourselves back. Like we're the ones who are in our way. There's nothing or no one that's in your way from getting what you want. And so I'm doing my best to stay out of my own way.
Probably doing it more gracefully than I think some. I know that others sometimes you are not needing life to hit you over the head with a sledgehammer to change. You're taking the hints and you're also, I don't know, taking it upon yourself to discover them.
Yeah. I think that in this day and age, like we're so flooded with distractions and it's really hard to slow down and to get quiet and to listen. And I've worked really hard to do that, to implement things in my life to allow me to have the opportunity to listen to my instincts, to my gut. And when you do that, you're able to live in alignment with the highest version of yourself, because it's so clear to you, right? The more that you do that, the more clarity that you receive about that. And so I think that you can call it whatever you want, your intuition or inner prompting, Holy Spirit, right? But really like slowing down and listening to that and trusting your intuition and then taking the next right step, I think is key.
Yeah. And your story is, the magic of your story comes from that, like, first step, next step, next step.
Yes.
Like, if you were to, in that very beginning, when you're sitting in the parking lot, have envisioned all of the things you've achieved already today.
Right.
I mean, like you already said, that's like a huge, giant leap, almost too big to fathom. But each of these things became possible because of the one before it.
Right. Yeah, no, I could never imagine sitting in that parking lot like I'm a successful business coach and I'm living, in these two beautiful places and, working with people I love and making a huge impact and being compensated appropriately with time for other passions, living that EOS life and like, and all of the good things that have come to me. Like I'm living a life beyond what I could have ever dreamed or imagined. But I think the key to that is that I didn't limit myself by thinking or feeling that I needed to see the whole staircase. I just needed to see that next step and take that next step. And so really pausing, evaluating, acting, and then reflecting has been the key. Those have been the key steps for me to getting what I want and getting to where I'm at today.
And you seem to be very oriented towards, a question that you keep coming back to is, is this going to be leading me towards my best life?
Yes.
Is this 100%? You're very oriented towards like maximizing the most you can get out of every ounce of you, the day, the moment, and really living in it.
Yeah.
And your choices have come from moments that didn't, like that moment on Christmas where you didn't get to experience it, or getting more moments like you did when your kids went to school, but you are just a natural one who wants to fill it with more the juice of life.
Yes.
And are oriented towards that.
Yeah. How can I not be? I mean, when I think about my great grandmothers and what they sacrificed to get me here, like I'll often think about them, and they've all passed, but like if they could see me living this life, and like they would never in their wildest dreams imagine that I'm living the life that I am. And so I can't let that go to waste. Like every day I wake up and my feet hit the floor, and I want the devil to be like, uh-oh, she's up.
She's up.
So, and it's for them because I can't let that opportunity go to waste. It's like, it would be a disservice to all the people who came before me. That's how I truly feel.
Wow. That kind of gets me teary-eyed. Like, what a gift to give, and to know that each of us, even in the lives that we're living now, as we continue to cross the thresholds we do for the healing we're here for, the changes we're making, the generational gratitude.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Look at you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So how would you summarize the wisdom gained from all of these layers of journey and self-betterment that you've gone through?
How would I summarize it? I think that I would just summarize it by saying, like, you need to believe in what's possible, and it can be literally anything, and really just go for it. Like, you only lose if you quit or if you don't even try, And so, I think that it's just really important to believe in what's possible, believe in yourself, speak it into existence, and really just like act, go for it. And also take time to reflect. I'm a huge reflector. And so taking that time to pause, like, especially in this world that, like I said, we're living in this time where we're distracted, like, on a whole nother level. But taking time to reflect, celebrate your wins, celebrate how far you've come, and take stock in where you want to be, and really visualize that, and take the small steps that you need to get to where you want to be, and that version of yourself that you want to be, or that you need to be for this world. How do you want to show up in this world? Because there's only one you, and you've only got one life to live, right? So there's this saying YOLO, but I don't think it's you only live once. I think you only die once. Right? You live every day. And so how can you live every day optimally? What are the small steps that you need to take today to move towards living that optimal life?
Yep. Mic drop. Thank you for this. Such a healthy orientation towards the small steps and trusting the next steps, and being able to visualize even bigger than we expect or could imagine, but then just taking that small step and trusting the path, and I'm so impressed, and I love your level of energy.
Thank you.
And just joy and the way that you see life.
Thank you.
It's really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom here.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this space.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. I know that I want to sit with this one and unpack it, and I'm sure you do too, and get to sit into visualization and small steps that can lead to big steps. So thank you again, Amanda, and everyone. Looking forward to next time.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Wise Women podcast. You can find the book, Wisdom's Discovery, Finding Your Center at the Edge, on Amazon and barnesandnoble.com. and keep listening to the wisdom that your life is offering you.